the Mac here on this screen, and the power button for the Mac, if you ever do need it, is right there.
Got it.
And the power button for the monitor is on the bottom left, right here, for this monitor here, if that ever needs to get turned on or off. But basically, it should just stay on, and the screen will go to sleep. But you could hit, hit a button, so right, space bar or whatever, or move the mouse, and the screen should just pop on. If it doesn't, that means you probably need to turn the Mac on. Okay, but the whole thing here can be controlled by this control panel here. And I have this on a really long cable. So in theory, you could pull this back over here if you wanted somebody to kind of be operating from back here. This is like the controller. But generally, this is set up so that you can control from the desk here. So the first thing when this is on, basically, it's just you have a big start button here. So when you hit that, and here, let's grab the lights. When you hit this, you hear all the different things clicking, and it'll take about 10 seconds for everything to fire up. But that turns on the TV, that turns on the lights, sets the mode.
All from the start button?
Yeah, just that
okay.
one button. And then from here, this is your main screen. So this is a controller. It's kind of like a custom app that runs the studio to do whatever it is that you guys need to do. Okay. And this is all custom. Like we have kind of a standard sort of set, but for every studio we kind of dial it in based on your guys' use case. So we have a few basic graphics kind of loaded in here for starters, but a lot of this is customized and dialed in over time, depending on how you guys want to use it, what the functionalities that you're looking for might be. So on the bottom here are the main switcher buttons. So we got wide cam, tight cam, Mac Mini, and HDMI in. And the two are the cameras here, wide cam and tight. And if we look at this monitor, you guys have it here, and we have another copy of that monitor here. So when I switch between those, you can see it goes between the wide cam program here is what you're looking at, between the wide cam and the tight cam. And I'm totally in the way. Here, Dave, you want to take a seat so we can kind of see? Looks like there.
So those bottom two buttons control that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's one button here that says multi-view toggle.
Okay.
And when you hit that, it goes to just full screen. So if you want to see all of it at once, you can. But if you want to just see, okay, what's live? What are we recording? You can hit that, and that just makes it full screen. And then, wide and tight are the two cameras. And we also have an HDMI cord that I'll put on a little clip up here. But this cord right here, you can plug a laptop in, or an iPad, or whatever, something that you might want to do a screen share from. And so there's a button here that says HDMI in. That's this. So you can do that. But right above it, there's HDMI in picture-in-picture. So if we were to adjust this camera angle a little bit here, get a shot of Dave. There we go. I'll use the one next to it here, which is Mac Mini. So imagine that's your screen that you're wanting to do a screen share of. Right now, that screen there is being driven also by the Mac Mini. So
that looks awesome.
Yeah. So if you wanted to have to take it further, and this is some of the more advanced stuff, but say you wanted to have a Zoom call with somebody, you could have that Mac Mini. You could have the Mac Mini go put the Zoom call on screen, and we could have it here, and then you could do a picture-in-picture kind of thing, or cut back and forth between the Mac Mini and the Zoom call, depending on what you're doing, and you could be recording content that way. Now, some of that is definitely a little more advanced. So again, I think that it would take some reconfiguration depending on exactly how you guys want to use some of this stuff. So that's where that follow-up time comes in. But basically, the things that you need to know right now, are, getting ahead of myself, are these four buttons
Just in
here.
the freshman class.
Yeah.
Okay.
The four buttons here between wide, tight, Mac Mini, HDMI in. There are four inputs, so those are the four, the two cameras and the two different screens. And then right above Mac Mini and HDMI in are the picture-in-picture ones. So if you want to do that sort of thing.
Right.
Now we talked about the wide and tight cam. These are the two cameras here. This is the wide cam, smaller lens. The wide cam, the slightly larger lens is the tight cam. They can be adjusted a little bit. The wide cam you probably want to leave. Go to the wide cam. It's kind of in the sweet spot right now.
Sorry, which one's the wide cam?
The one on the right.
On the right, okay.
On the right, if you're looking at it.
Yes.
Yes, from back here, the one on the right. And then the tight cam, if I go to the tight, depending on what you're doing and who's doing, like if there's a host or whatever, or if there's again, depending on who you want to have a close-up shot of,
Right.
you would set this camera to that person. You could also have somebody operate that camera. Like if someone was wanting to, be back here and hitting the buttons, certainly could.
No.
The other thing on here, so that's the bottom. All right, on the top we have this GFX button, and this is an expanded version of this top line here. When you click this, there's 18 different slots that we can have graphics loaded into. And I can show you guys, maybe we do like a screen share video recording for how to load new graphics in. But it's relatively simple. Once you get a file on the Mac, it's a drag and drop. And as soon as you drag it into a certain spot, then it shows up, whatever the file name is, it shows up here as a button. And the first 7 are on the home page here. And then you have the rest there. So there's 18 slots. So right now we just threw a few examples of like a logo full screen, but we could do whatever. We could have, something like a title, that comes in. There he is, the man himself.
So you'll know which one, if you click on that Dave Gallegos one, what button was that?
So that one's called
DG
DG title. Yeah.
DG
And so
title.
whatever you name the file is what the button will be called. So because they're small buttons, you want those file names to be as short as you possibly can. So I wouldn't
Right.
spell out Dave Gallegos. DG, you know what I mean?
So if we have more than 18, somebody's going to have to come in here and move one and put theirs
Yeah,
in.
and
Okay.
it's relatively simple to
Okay.
just drag and drop and
Got
organize. And you could even have like a folder where you have 100, and then depending on what you're going to do, you just set it up.
Okay.
And so I can show you that separately. And then there's still, even on this, there is a wide cam, tight cam. So even if you have but you're going to do a bunch of graphics, you can still cut between the two cameras there. I might wind up adding the screen share as well. Okay, so that's graphics. Next down here we have light control. If you hit that, there are 2 different pages of lighting control. The colorful one here, the rainbows, you'll see there's 2 different sets of lights back there. One is for that backdrop, but it also adds, you can kind of see the green gets that little, blending of colors there. So if you wanted red and yellow, you could do that. Or if you wanted orange and purple, you could do that. Or you just want all green. It's a lot of green, but you could do it. And then we have a few presets in here right next to this where it says blue-green. Right, I figured that'd be a common one. And then pink-blue. And you can see, I think it's kind of a nice little blend there. We have a cold one, or it's just kind of cool. A warm one. That's a lot.
I'll probably use the cool one.
Oh my God.
And it's just a really kind of
Do you
neat-
do you recommend always using some sort of color?
I think it's, so here, let me turn it off for you. So, Josh, let's make a note. I need a button to turn off the color bars. Sweet. So it looks kind of flat when you don't have something there. So I'd say it's nice to, and I think it's nice to change it up too. Again, depending on what you're doing, it adds variety. So it's not always just the same. It's a really easy way to add variety.
This thing keeps focusing in and out because your hands.
Yeah, because I'm right there. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and it does have really good autofocus. So if you did have like something you want to show or whatever, it'll focus very quickly to that thing,
that's nice.
which is kind of nice.
This is so badass. Sorry.
So the screen right now, and Amy and I spoke about this a little bit. The screen is still how it was mounted before. As you can see, it's too high, and it's not quite angled. You can see little reflections of the lights. All those kind of reflections and stuff are a matter of being able to adjust it. Right now, it's not adjustable. The other thing, and I'll do this today as well, is
just the monitor's not adjustable?
Yeah, I
so
need to get a new.
Yeah, it needs to be mounted
I need to get a new mount.
with a hydraulic. So what you need, Amy, is one that can go up and down and angle out. So
Okay.
one of the bigger
Yep.
ones, basically. And then what I'd recommend is the internet in the room also comes in here. I'd say if you could move that. We could also go up though, like through the ceiling with these and just drop it down.
Oh, okay.
But obviously this doesn't look good. So this is the video signal and this is the internet going to the setup. So
And those always need to be plugged in.
yes.
Good
Yeah.
answer. Good answer.
Yeah, so that'll be, yeah, that's one thing that needs to happen yet in terms of making sure that we don't see a couple ugly cords hanging there. Okay, so that was lighting. Oh yeah, and then there's also, so there's the colorful one, which is this guy here, and this is a little toggle button that goes between those two modes. And this one here is there's a key light, which is this guy here, and then there's these two edge lights on the side. So you can turn these on and off and change, brightness levels or whatever. And like, as you can see, that's kind of like a neat look. Like you could totally design something where, you have the logo there and then the light comes on, when the show starts or something. Like all that kind of stuff. Right now you'd have to hit like 10 buttons, but I can program a start show button. If you guys want to develop something like that, you could have a mix of graphics and lights and all these things that happen at the push of one button where I can program, the
You're
order
such a
of those
nerd.
things. Yeah, I really am. I love it. And
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Ryan said, yeah, that's a compliment, thanks.
I know.
you called me a freak yesterday. I was like,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, so that's really the gist here. And then when you're done, on the bottom left here, it says Studio Shutdown.
Okay.
And one caveat here is we are still kind of dialing some of these things in, so some of the buttons might move around and change a little bit. But when you're done, you hit that and it says, are you sure you want to shut down? And then you hit yes and everything will just turn off. The one thing that I'm still working on right now is audio control, mic control. The button doesn't even function yet. But there's 3 mics right now.
Yeah.
And there's going to be the ability to kind of turn them up and down, and I can show you. So let's go back to the Mac for a moment.
How do you record? Yeah. Okay, so how do you record?
Yeah, great question. On the bottom right, there's this kind of dark red record button. When you hit that, it'll light up and give you a counter. It's really important that you look at that counter and see that it's counting up.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Sometimes, every now and again, the thing will freeze and it'll be red, but like, I'm rolling, but if it's not counting, you're not actually rolling. So you gotta make sure it's counting.
All right.
And worst case scenario, and that's a very rare thing, but worst case scenario, if that happens, just need to shut it down, restart the system.
Okay.
To get it to go again. And so yeah, it's as simple as that. Just start and stop record.
One more
That's-
question.
yeah.
What if somebody doesn't want to record and they just want to do podcast?
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility.
Can
You mean
you
just a live podcast?
Like
Yeah,
just audio
just
only.
audio only?
Oh, without video,
So
you mean?
how did you get it to where Dave wasn't on the screen and it was just the Zenith Home Loans?
Yeah, so right now there's a logo full blue and logo full black. So logo full blue just puts that up there.
So if somebody just wanted to do audio, they could almost just put that up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you'll wind up with a video file, and let me show you where the files go now.
Okay.
So this drive right here, this little SanDisk, I'm not rolling right now, I might now. Basically is just a 1 terabyte hard drive with a USB-C, and
That's a lot.
yeah, it'll get you a couple hundred hours of recording. So you can just leave files on here if you wanted. Is the idea. Cable. There's a drawer here, by the way, with just some spare parts and whatnot. But there's a cable right here that's got an adapter, so you can have just USB-C or just regular USB-A. So you can grab that, bring it to your computer.
I was gonna say, okay,
Dump
so
it.
that's how you're gonna get all of the recording off of it.
Exactly. So
Okay.
it's on here. So be sure to, maybe we just leave the cable here. Basically, bring the cable back. But this one here is how you plug it back into the system.
Okay.
And if you wanted, you could buy your own. I'd suggest either Samsung or SanDisk solid state drive that has USB-C.
That might not be a bad idea, just so that way we're not like about here to go shooting like, wait, who's got
the
stinky?
drive?
I
Yeah,
agree.
Exactly.
I agree. Buy your own.
Yeah, yeah.
How much will one of those cost for a terabyte?
They're about $100, 120,
Okay,
something like
worth
that.
it,
Yeah.
Cool. And even if you did like whatever 500 megabytes.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be able to access any of these files on our own network.
Well,
You have to-
download
You
it
just
said
quick.
download them.
You just gotta take it to your computer and
Yeah.
put it on.
If you
That's
want
all
to,
right.
if you want to get to that, there are some solutions. If that's something you're looking
Okay.
for, basically you could have a whole other server here where when you're done, you'd have like 2 drives, and you unplug it, plug in the drive 2, and then take drive 1 and plug it into
Okay.
a cloud, so it would automatically upload to Dropbox or something like that.
That makes sense. I was thinking, okay, yeah, this isn't on our network.
Yeah. So there are other ways to do that, but I'd say because it's video, those files are a lot bigger than spreadsheets. You know what I mean? So it's fastest to physically take the drive wherever you need it and dump it there. And then you might want to get another drive or have a few. You can
Okay.
label them, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, put some stickers on so you know what's what.
Yeah.
And maybe have like a oh shit backup, in the drawer in case there's not something here that no one uses unless it's an emergency.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Okay, so there's those 3 mics. So that's recording. Any questions on recording?
Nope.
Okay.
Do their own stuff.
Yeah. Pretty much either that or
So,
downloading.
question.
Yeah.
Somebody could sit back here and control everything that's on that thing on this computer, correct?
Yes, there are a couple ways actually to do that. That's one, and let me just do this real quick. This is page 97, and okay, we got button. Give me 1 second here to edit this. Those below.
Okay.
So if you, let's turn the graphic off. So if you hit the right pedal, let's try that. And then go to the, and then go to the left pedal. That allows you to, with your feet, control the two cameras. So you can be even more sly about it. And then the middle button there, he's having too much fun.
Look at Dave's
The middle button
pictures.
should, oh, hang on, let me fix this real quick. Should what? It should, give it 1 second here, right about, copy, multi-view toggle. There we go, try that middle button again, Dave. Yeah, so that one will toggle between those two views, multi-view and the other one. Now we could program those pedals to do whatever you want. You could have that be a graphic, you could have that be start, stop recording, you could do, I wouldn't recommend that because you could bump it. But you could use those pedals, those 3 buttons on those pedals, and you could even have a few different modes, one for graphics, one for yeah, so that's...
Oh, you gotta have a foot pedal.
oh, you gotta,
You gotta have that.
You gotta have a foot pedal. So this controller here, I'm not gonna drop it this time. I'll have, all the wires will be cleaned up except for this one. This one will still be loose, so that you can kind of reposition where you want to take it. Again, you won't have to feed it like this. So if you've got someone who can run the podcast, take take the controller back here,
Oh, okay.
and then you can run it from back here. You know what I mean? If you wanted, you could always buy another one of these.
Okay.
And have 2 of them.
Otherwise, that's what they need to use to control everything, basically.
There is a button here. Josh, do you mind if I take over for a moment? An emulator, it's called.
Okay.
So that, and it looks like we're in the middle of making some changes, but basically you can have the same, you just click on them. I really like having the tactile buttons for it, of course. So yeah, there are some ways, and I can, again, depending on how you guys want to see use of this space, we can make those things easier or automatically pop up. But generally, I'd say having this controller box would be the way to go.
Okay.
So over here, there's the controller box, HDMI cable to plug a screen in. And then the only other device related to audio is this guy here. This is a headphone amplifier. So there are 3 pair of headphones here. Not keen of the look of headphones. If you don't have to have them on, I'd rather, if there's somebody back here who can be monitoring audio, I think that's best. The nice thing about headphones though is it makes the talent aware of if they're talking to the microphone or not, because they hear themselves. Because you really want these mics, you want them, like I tell people, like hang loose distance from your mouth or closer to sound good. And so why don't I show you guys the configuration actually real quick for the mic positions. There are 3 mics, as you see. Generally, so right now we're kind of in two-person mode. So if Dave and I were going to do a segment together, let's hit that middle button, Dave. I'm working? There we go. So we could cut between wide and tight, and so I have this mic here that, let's put this on this side. There we go. That we can have up, and I can switch between these two, if Dave's talking and then I'm talking. And right now you can kind of see the mic is like in my face. You don't want that. You want it like pointing up, right? I want to see people's faces. I never want to be doing one of these things. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So this part here goes up and down, and then the mics go up and down. And there's this knob here. These are all, you don't really want to, if you can, loosen these because they're really hard to get tight. And so you kind of just want to find that sweet spot and kind of leave it if you can. And right now this is 2 mic mode. So Ryan, you want to join us for
Sure.
3-person? You'll have to go on your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dave, you scooch in. And then this mic here will go on top of that bar there. Kind of see that? Yeah.
Or like, yay.
Yeah, exactly. So you have just in lieu of how big the space is, it's really we're cozy. You know,
Yeah,
when you're doing
we're
3 up.
getting-
Yeah, we're getting real
We're
cozy.
getting tight here.
But you can,
Yeah.
right? You can pull it off, and that would be the third mic for that mode. You know what I mean? Using that one there.
Right on.
Are the mics always on?
Great question. So that's the mic control here is the one thing I'm still programming.
Okay.
That'll be this button here, and right now we have, and they're not functioning right now, but basically you can mute, turn on and off the different mics, and you can also turn them up and down here as well. And there's a program on the Mac that's a full mixer, so you can actually see all the meters and if you really want to get in. But we're trying to have it set where by default all 3 mics will be on, and it's not the end of the world if you leave all 3 on.
Yeah.
It's best if you're not using the third one to mute it, but it's not the end of the world with the way we have it. It basically, unless someone's talking into it, it kind of mutes itself for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one more question. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. That back there
Yeah.
on the screen, is that what it's always going to be, or if somebody wants their own logo up there?
So that's the.
I might have asked that question
No,
already.
you
I
haven't.
apologize.
And I locked myself to the corner here on the panel, but I'll speak to it. There's another button, I can't remember what it's called, but it's about screen graphics or something like that.
Okay.
In there, we can load as many different things that you want to put on that screen that you might want.
Okay.
And it's a little of an odd program, but it's not the most difficult to learn how to swap those things out and make some changes in there. It's a separate program on the Mac to make those changes, but we can walk you through it. And that's also the kind of thing, like, if you can make a collection of the 10 different logos or whatever you might want, we could just spend half an hour and do that together, where I can walk you through that and make some of those changes with you to make that a little easier. But
Okay, because like Dave has his 2 logos for they're 2 different logos, so
Yep.
he can pop that up there.
So this is 2 layers right now. There's this, I call it low poly, that background, the gray thing, and then there's the logo on top of it. You can see I need a better high res logo. That was
I gotcha.
low res. But basically, so you could do a number of different things. You could have a background with a graphic on top. You could have just a background. You could do whatever you want.
Okay.
Combine pieces and make a few different presets for what you want, and
Okay.
then basically add however many buttons you want for that thing. So that's that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about shutting it down?
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure you are not recording when you hit shutdown. Your file might still be okay, but you really need to end the file to ensure that it's going to work.
Okay.
Right? So give me a second here to get myself a back button. Josh, can I do something real quick? Okay.
You'll be able to stop recording on there though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. What page was I on there? It was on audio. Okay. I just need a back button real quick. Okay, so there we go. To shut it down, right now recording, so I want to end the recording, so I hit that.
Okay.
And then this button here, shut down studio. You hit that. Are you sure? Yes. And everything will just kind of do the opposite of before.
Okay.
The Mac stays on, the network, the router stays on, and this screen now, I fixed it, stays on as well. There's a couple programs I could talk about in here to make sure things work. So for example, if I were to start it back up right now, I think that it's not always reliable that the screen there gets what it's supposed to get. And
Okay.
There's a program that you might need to restart on here to make that work. So I'll show you what that is. It worked this time. Say it went up and the background wasn't up there. What you would need to do, and I'll hide this because you won't be seeing this.
Yeah, so what will that screen look like when somebody walks in here?
Sorry, the big screen?
No, this one.
This one, yeah. So this here is called QLab. This is the only thing that is always running. This controls the lights, and this controls the contents of that screen.
Okay.
if the contents of that, if the screen is just black right now, so this is a second screen, and it's from the top right. If you move the mouse to the top right, you can see it showing up there. So it's in the top right corner
Okay.
of that monitor.
Okay.
But when something's up there, so if I were to turn on the logo, the cursor is hidden, and I can't, if I move something in there, it's gone. Oh, I was able to make the cursor show up, but generally the cursor's gone. So, but sometimes you'll boot it up, and you can even see Dark Poly's EHL logo is running, but nothing's on the screen. What you'll need to do is just reboot QLab, and I'll show you the button. I'll make one actually for it real quick. Right here. So on a Mac, if you just hit the X, that doesn't quit the program. You have to
Okay.
go up to the top left and click on QLab and go down to quit QLab. And if you didn't make any changes, this shouldn't even pop up, but we've been editing it actively, so it's asking us. If I'd say don't, if you're afraid you mess something up, you don't need to save.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Unless you know you made a good change. So down here though, right here, Studio QLab Workspace. Oh, sorry, let me do this one. This guy, right? Where is it? This one here. Get rid of that one. Remove from doc. So this guy here, Studio QLab Workspace, that's the project file that QLab needs. Quitting QLab and then opening that project file should then make that work if it wasn't working before.
Okay. Okay.
So that's this guy right here. After a reboot, if you were to restart the whole Mac, this should open up automatically.
Okay.
The graphics, I can just show you this real quick because it is pretty simple. This might be a good new video file if you want to start.
Okay. Go ahead.
So there's this guy down here, ATEM software control. This is where the graphics are loaded. And I'll have it set so that it automatically opens to this page. And as you can see, it's a little too wide for the screen. But basically, so let me quit out of this and open it back up. If you click this, it'll go to what it was loaded last and of these 4 tabs. So you have the switcher, media, audio, camera. All you need to worry about is media. That's where these different graphics are, right? So if I were to go and the format you need is a PNG, and 1920 by 1080 is the resolution. And you can have transparency, you know, if you want it to be on top of your video. So you can use Canva, you can use Photoshop, whatever, just to make a PNG 1920 by 1080 with transparency. And then you take, and let's see if I can, oh, here's one. I've got a graphic here. If I want to call this My Cool Graphic, and I load it into any of these first 18 slots, drop it into slot 4, for example, that will show up. I'll go here to a different view. That will show up on the, well, I suppose it's just even on page 1. There we go. My Cool Graphic.
Okay.
Right, it just shows up on the button. All you got to do to add a graphic is plop it in here, and it'll show up. If you hit the X, which one was My Cool Graphic? Number 3. Oh, 4. Hit the X, that removes it. And so you just drag it into these slots. 20 has to be blank. Is the
20
only
has to be
caveat.
blank.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say Ryan comes in and all 18 are taken. What does he do?
You would basically just, okay, I don't know if there's an easy to access USB port on here, but you could email yourself the file or Dropbox link or whatever. You just got to get the files somehow on this computer, download it. You probably wind up in your downloads folder. So
And then drag and drop from there.
yeah, you just drag those PNG files right into that
You
slot.
also start
So
it-
Ryan can just keep his logo somewhere on that computer.
Right, we could start
Yeah,
it
so
out.
you could have a
Okay,
folder.
okay.
There's actually a studio folder here in the home folder, and I'll add this to the left here. From there, there's a graphics folder. You could make like a Ryan folder.
Okay.
You could put all his stuff in there.
Okay.
You know, so every time he just wants to throw whatever one's in there. If you want to keep I was gonna say you could number your graphics, but then the number shows up on the buttons, and that's kind of like
Yeah.
wasting space. So you know, just gotta figure out what works for you, because you can put them wherever you want and call them wherever.
You in different spots.
Go ahead.
There's a button right here, and I'll rotate the screen here. When you hit this button, this it will toggle the input to this monitor, and there's 2 things plugged in right now, and number 2 is a copy of that screen. So say you wanted to have a Zoom call up here instead of a background, and you wanted them to be able to see it, you would hit this button here to change what's going to this monitor.
Okay.
So they can either see themselves, what's being recorded, or they can see what's on that screen, so they don't have to look behind them.
Okay.
That's
I
what
got
this
you.
toggle button is
Oh,
for.
okay, okay.
Generally, again, depending on how you guys want to continue using this, that might not be something that you need to do, but that's what that is. It goes between that screen, basically this screen or that screen is what goes here. Plug and replug in the remote. And so that's on the back end. This thing's magnetic, in this little stand. And you don't have to use the stand, but a lot of people like it. The plug is right here on the remote.
Okay.
And so if you unplug it and plug it back in, you'll notice that it just displays the Elgato logo. It doesn't actually do anything. The company that makes the software I'm running is making a change so that it'll just automatically reconnect. Right now it doesn't. So to reconnect, and I'll make a shortcut for this real quick. Actually, no, this is a pretty easy button. At the very top here, this little icon here, that's Companion. That's the software running on the buttons to control all the devices. If you go to scan USB devices, that'll cause the screen on the
Okay.
remote to come back.
That's wake up.
That's
Okay.
Yep.